Welcome back to Behind Enemy Lines with Mike and Terry, Tuesday night. So I guess we're getting closer to starting at 7 o'clock, right?
We're gradually working our way there.
So we're close there. So thank you, everybody. So we have an interesting guest, one of my favorite careers, attorneys. We have a DC attorney, Chris Samponia, and he's going to talk about he had a client, one of the two clients, of police officers that were charged with murder for doing their jobs in DC. And his client, I'm going to screw up the name, Andrew Zavinsky.
Davinsky.
Yeah, he was sentenced to 48 months in jail for doing his job, and in the process of defending him, Chris's client was pardoned by Trump. So I know a lot of leftists were going nuts, and we'll hear more about the details and what led to that as well. And then we're also going to talk about some of the similarities between DC, the crime stats that we know are bullshit, and we know they are in Chicago, right? Based on the stuff I've been covering, Mike, you saw like we have hundreds, thousands of police incident reports. They don't arrest the Venezuelans, the illegals, only if
Yes.
it's, only if they're forced to, like 8 people mass murder and stuff like that. But they don't even and it's not the cops' fault.
No.
It's Mayor Johnson's, just like you guys saw this weekend, his bullshit executive order that the Chicago police can't wear their masks. And you know what? The only police that wear masks are the Democratic liberal police anyway, the cops, right? They're useless leftist cops. So he put this bullshit for theater executive order. They're not supposed to cooperate with ICE. Well, that's been in place for a long time. So it was all for show. And then
Yeah.
we've seen on WGN that Kristi Noem, we saw Trump say that ICE is coming this weekend. And there's been a lot of stuff going around in the city of Chicago. And those for you local to Chicago, it's going to be an interesting week with local politics. There's a debate that will be coming up not too far out in the future. And the presumptive candidate found out that he's not going to be allowed on the on the debate stage. It's only
Oh,
for
that's hilarious.
true Republicans, real Republicans. And then I guess this presumptive nominee is going to have some big court problems. Maybe Chris can give him some advice. That Chris, I'm only joking, man. I mean, so before we have Chris on, we just got a little 30-second clip to talk a little bit about what happened in DC with the police officers, and then we're going to bring Chris on, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
We're
Let's do
following
it.
some breaking news in D.C., where police confirm Officer Terrence Sutton and Lieutenant Andrew Zabowski have been reinstated. They were pardoned by President Trump just 2 days after the inauguration. Both were convicted in a chase that led to the death of 20-year-old Karan Hilton Brown back in 2020. D.C. police say officers tried to stop Hilton Brown for riding a moped on the sidewalk without a helmet. He was hit by a car during the police chase and died a few days later. Sutton was sentenced to 5 years on murder charges. Zabowski got a 4-year sentence for trying to cover the whole thing up. Neither spent a day in jail, and WUSA 9 learned the papers to reinstate Sutton and Zabowski were signed on Friday. We're told Sutton will not be on patrol right away.
Well, that was interesting. Hey, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Welcome to the show. So before we get started, why don't you give an introduction on your bio, much better than the one I gave you, and a little bit about yourself and background, and then we'll jump into this case that we just mentioned.
Yeah, sure. Really quick, practicing law 30 years, prosecutor originally in New York State. I was president of the bar in DC about 10 years ago. I moved down here right around 9/11 time, and have been here ever since. Have developed a practice representing a lot of police officers since COVID times, and unfortunately became the enemy of the state, as you know, during at least the last administration, sadly.
I'm
So
sure.
I was really busy. So yeah, that's a quick bio. But yeah, I'm happy to do what I do and glad to talk about it.
Good.
Yeah, that's cool that you're somebody that actually represents the first responders, the people that protect all the rest of us that show up.
Background. I mean, we saw the clip, right? So the officers, the officers were doing their job, and there's some law that And I honestly, I thought that they had that here. I forgot what they call it. You could tell us, but like in Chicago, they have to back off. When they're high speed chases and stuff. I don't know
Right.
how fast that guy was going on the moped on the side.
20 miles an hour, not even 20,
Yeah.
15 miles an hour.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, it was crazy. I mean, there's orders, right? So they have different orders, and the council, as you may have been hearing about, Janine Pirro's been talking about some of the laws they've been passing. They passed some anti-chase laws, we'll call
Mm,
it maybe quickly, which pretty much said you can't chase anyone unless there's a dead body dragging out the back of the car, maybe. But
mm,
during the commission of
Unbelievable.
any crime, you have to let him go. I mean, during the trial, there was someone testifying that, oh, even during the chase, you're supposed to stop at the stop signs. I'm like, well, that'll really work well in the chase. So that was the rule, and that's what we were up against when they said it wasn't a legal chase. It was a new law that existed that they
mm.
put in place, and it never exceeded 25 miles. Well, maybe one point it was 30, but the guy was on a
Downhill.
scooter. He was
That was
high
downhill,
on
right?
different drugs, and
Yeah.
yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I said that was downhill, the 30 miles an hour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, he could have broken away any time. It was really a insane prosecution, and we were looking forward to winning on appeal because there was so many unusual rulings. Probably of the maybe 400 motions we filed, we maybe won one. So it was, so yeah, there was bias all around,
It
and
was that a jury or a bench trial?
it was a jury. Yeah, we had a jury, but they didn't hear all the evidence, so I don't, I respect, what they do, but there were so many things that were suppressed and not allowed in, and
Of
so
course.
we couldn't even say it was a unique case. Like, I couldn't say the word unique, even though it was the first of its kind ever,
Mhm.
and I could not say unique. I was barred by the judge from saying that. So,
That
by the prosecution via the judge, really. So,
And
yeah.
what was the and not that I know the judges, but maybe it's some that we might be aware of because of January 6th, the name of the judge?
Yeah, he did some. Friedman, he's very well known. Very, very. He's been in D.C. for like he's been there since the Iran Contra hearings. If you want to
Oh,
go back that far,
wow.
so he's a senior judge. We'll call it. So
he's got like 1 foot in
yeah,
the grave.
yeah. So he couldn't hear so well. Neither could one of the counsel. So it was somewhat interesting to watch the exchange without good hearing.
Yeah,
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yeah.
you know how tainted the jury pool is in DC, right? So, like,
Oh yeah.
when you were going through jury selection, did you have to go through a lot? When
Oh yeah.
s
Yeah, that
what
started. Well, the
about
whole
that?
the whole process was 6 months long. Not the
Oh
jury
my
selection, but that's with the trial. It was a
yeah.
6 month process. I broke a tooth actually during it because it was so stressful. But
Mhm.
the
Jeez.
jury selection part, my client broke 6 teeth. So jury selection, I tried to have some unique questions. Like, one was, what kind of car do you drive? So the judge actually asked, why do you want to ask that question? I said, I want to find someone that's got a truck, in DC. Literally nobody drove a truck except an illegal, well, we'll call it undocumented person
Right, right. A
who couldn't
visitor.
sit in the who couldn't sit in the jury. Anyways, everything else, was hybrids, electric cars,
Mm-mm.
etc. So that does give you a little idea what the pool is like. It's not. I'm not against any. People drive what they like, but when you see that much of one, and you're just like, wait a minute, we're just
Which
like average people. They're driving an old POS.
Yeah, like, if
well,
they're I would assume if they're driving a Tesla, you tell them to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so that shows you what kind of pool it was, even though, that doesn't actually always predict, but
Yeah.
that's a
Well,
quick one. But we went through hundreds of jurors, though, hundreds. Yeah. It was an
that's
incredibly long process. Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, like, I guess here's my question. And again, not that they really care about people's safety in DC, but what about this guy driving this scooter down the sidewalk? Wasn't that also putting people in danger? And they can't stop him. They
Right.
can't do anything.
Right. Yeah. So we brought that up. He didn't have a helmet on. That's probably why he died, is because his helmet was not on and his head hit the car that was driven by a bystander. But yeah, they said since it wasn't a felony, it didn't matter. I mean, so that's why so that you couldn't pursue after so much time, the way the law is written or the order, you had to stop pursuing. So doing that, you could pursue for maybe, I don't know, 10 seconds. But if they get away, well, you got to let them go. That's how the law was written. So yeah, you can drive up the sidewalk. You can, you just got to watch them run somebody over, and then you can arrest them after that.
Yeah, then it's a felony. Then it's serious.
Then
Yeah.
they'll blame the police for not arresting him earlier. After that, that's how that'll work.
Yeah,
Of course.
I think in Chicago, they have to actually get, like, supervisor approval or something
Right.
like that.
Yeah, that's how DC was too. If they did want to have a long chase, quote, they would have to call the supervisor. Yeah, and my client was a supervisor, so that's why they nailed him because he
Of
didn't
course.
stop the pursuits. So uh,
Did he have to pay a financial bond, any type of bond?
uh, no, he didn't. When he was sentenced, there was no bond issued by the judge, believe it or not.
That's good.
So yeah, so that was, but he had a stroke upon sentencing.
Oh my
So
god.
yeah, he almost
Jeez.
died after sentencing. Yeah, he had a
Yeah.
stroke,
Ugh.
and he's recovered thankfully. But yeah, it was an
Well,
ordeal. He never was in trouble his whole career, 20+ years, never a blemish, or maybe a minor thing one, but nothing. So
yeah. Well,
really a ideal officer to have around. Yeah.
and I guess here's my other question: is was the police department even aware of this rule change that the city council or whoever imposed to not pursue anyone? I guess regardless of any circumstance.
Well, they have orders they publish, so there's many orders. So it was put into the orders. So were they aware? Yeah, they should have been. They should have read the
Okay.
orders, but yeah, it's just a crazy rule, and I think it's been suspended now under this new
Yeah, I'd imagine
administration.
so. Yeah, I'd
So
imagine
yeah,
so.
yeah, but it was terrible because it just was. How do you? Well, you could say it was following too. They said it didn't become a pursuit until it went down a one-way street. That was like one of the reasonings, but because a cop like anybody else can drive down a street and follow someone, but they were trying to say
Of
that
course.
was wrong. It's like, why can't they follow somebody like I could follow someone in my car? I mean, it's not.
Mhm.
But
Well,
that's what they were saying, and there were lights on, so but the guy didn't pull over. He actually hit their car in the beginning and kicked it.
Oh, really?
So he kicked one of the cops' cars, Sutton's car, and so yeah, there was so many, I thought, outrageous events, but yeah, we weren't allowed to say what he did. He was a known gang member. We couldn't say
of
that,
course.
of course. All we could say is he was a rap star or aspiring rap star. Yeah, but
That's
his songs were all
hilarious.
about his songs were all about guns and drugs being
Yeah.
sold. That was his. But we couldn't play the song, so Anyways, yeah.
Of course
What
not.
was Yeah, what was the media coverage like? Was it, I'm assuming they're both white cops, racist police officers,
Yeah,
you know
that sums it up pretty well, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
High s- high s- high
yeah.
speed
uh,
lynching. The usual.
They probably show pictures, when he was in 8th grade before he got his gold teeth and stuff, and not show what he really looked like before he bashed into the car.
yeah, he had $3,000 in cash strapped to his ankle and duct tape, which is
As one
common for
does.
common for aspiring rap stars, apparently.
Yeah, he was really good at it.
So yeah, so he rapped. Yeah, he wrapped it around his ankle.
Oh,
Yeah, he had an order of protection out against him by
Oh,
his
so it's like
mother. His
both
mother
together.
had issued one.
that's always a good sign.
Uh, yeah, she was a piece of work too. So I mean, it was sad that no one wanted anyone to perish, but he he succumbed to his wounds. He was there. They had an ambulance immediately at the scene.
Mhm.
But the quote cover up, I was always amazed. I'm like, how do you cover up? There was like 40 body cameras going at once. I'm like, how could you cover this up? What was being covered up? Because it was
Yeah,
being videoed by like half the police department, or the whole district. So yeah, the media coverage was pretty biased, I would say. Put it that way. I mean, there was even, I'll give you another example. There was like, how they do those pictures, you showed the paintings. Well, my client was looking at the not deceased, the person that was injured at one point, and they made a big point that he looked too long, he didn't
uh,
move enough. But
yeah.
they put a coffee cup in his hand. I was surprised they didn't paint a donut in the other hand. So he never had a coffee cup in his hand, but they painted that into the picture, and they put a huge gut on him, like, here's the lazy lieutenant looking at the guy dying on the. Like that pretty much summed up their coverage. That was that picture.
Sounds about
Uh,
right.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, it was, and I couldn't even tell him it was a unique case. Like I wanted to well, I couldn't even comment. Actually, I couldn't even talk to the press. I was not allowed to talk to them. There was a
Well,
gag
But
order on me to even talk to the press. So,
but I'm
so
sure
I
the
couldn't say
prosecutor
anything
was
to.
allowed to.
Yeah, they said stuff. Yeah, they leaked things through different channels. Yeah, yeah,
Amongst the other, police officers within the same department, right? Were they
right.
all supportive of him, or was it racially divided, or how do you know? Do you even know how that worked?
Yeah, well, they weren't really allowed to come to watch the trial, so they were really pushed because I was a prosecutor, as I said in the beginning, in New York State, and when I was there, actually as an assistant DA, we did prosecute a police officer, and I remember all the police coming to support him in
Mhm.
court, and we lost
Sure.
that case. With this case, no one was really allowed, we heard, to go, or was very foreboding kind of, and so a former cop came who just retired, but that was it. There was no other police that came. So the
I
DC
mean,
police is an odd bird. It's federal, so a lot of people are out. It's not quite as cohesive, I would say, as other departments.
that's what's really disgusting about this whole thing is it sounds like beginning to end. This they got initially, I guess they got the result they wanted. This wasn't about justice because it was a racial crime or racialized crime. And again, I'm sure they didn't pursue this guy because he was black. They pursued him because he was breaking the law. They, in no way actually caused his death. Him running from justice is what caused it. But it's DC. They have such a warped, skewed version of the law. I mean, I can't believe a jury would convict them that couldn't look at this in a realistic way. But I mean, I think that's why we see all the other problems out of DC right now with jury nullification. They refused to charge the guy that attacked the ICE officer with the sandwich. They just released one of these women that threatened Trump's life earlier today.
Yeah.
Um, I guess she needs to go visit her psychologist in New York. More important, pressing matters. But I guess that's my question in DC is how are we going to get justice or get juries that aren't just going to say, well, Orange Man bad, we buy into this ideology, so we're going to refuse to act, and essentially jury nullification, even when there's overwhelming evidence.
Well, I think some of it you brought up a point there about racial. I mean, they know how to play to a jury. Okay, so the prosecutors knew how to play the case, and
Mhm.
I raised a motion to dismiss based on race, which was not popular. Okay, so I
Sure.
raised that issue, and the judge in the end denied me the right to get the information that I needed to prove it. So I had something there. So to prove that they prosecuted only certain races for certain things was really what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
But yeah, to how to change it, you have to I guess you have to work within it and figure out how to you know I don't know. I don't know the answer. You can't
Yeah,
change where the people live. So I mean, they live where they live. You try to move the case, I guess, is one
Yeah.
thing.
I mean, that's
If you're if you're trying to indict somebody for something, you want to move it out of DC. If it's something pro
yeah.
conservative, I guess be the answer.
If it was the other way around, you would have got that approved. You know, if it
Yeah, I would think, it was there, and and I had evidence of it, I would say, but I just couldn't get the questions out because I wasn't allowed to. So, and they would, and the DOJ purposely dragged their feet in that. They waited like 6 months, and I had to file a motion to, they call it summary judgment motion in that racial thing. And then at the eve of my winning, they said, "Oh, we'll give it to you if you withdraw it," because I would have got attorney's fees, massive attorney's fees, if I waited. But I couldn't wait because the longer I waited, the more it prejudiced my client. So I took the information,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was like one little thing they did. There were so many things.
So, did
Yeah.
the police union pay for the legal fees, or how did that work? You know?
No, my client had to do it himself.
Oh
I
my
mean, I gave him a heavily discounted rate
oh,
because I thought it was the right thing to do.
yeah.
But usually it's FOP insurance they have. So, if any officer out there, I would recommend they get it, even if they have union coverage, because it's not that expensive. It's actually based in Chicago,
mhm.
the insurance company, and for like $100 a year, you get like $200,000 in coverage. It's really
I
worth.
yeah.
It's worth paying the $100, especially the way things
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
I can't believe these, police officers cannot be, defended with tax dollars in this case while they're doing something, for their job. I mean,
Yeah, well, they were disowned. My guy was disowned by the department. They went along with the indictment. And and then lo and behold, when the pardon came through, then the whole narrative switched. And thankfully, the chief of police supported my client. And then she got blasted by an independent auditor that was in the news, the Bromwich report, which claimed that everything the prosecution did was right. They didn't do anything wrong,
Huh.
even though they suppressed many things, and went after the police chief actually. So yeah, so it was. It's still out there as a political. My client did get reinstated. He retired,
Did he get
but
back
yeah,
pay?
yeah, I'm not supposed to say it's still, even though it's released. Bromwich got the information, but that's another issue right now. It wasn't supposed to be released. The details you can read about it, but I'm not going to tell you because
Gotcha.
I'm not supposed to.
Mhm.
But they didn't care. They put it out there. It's out there. Yeah,
Out of
I can send you the
curiosity,
report if you want to read it. Yeah,
was this the police chief that didn't know what a chain of command was?
yeah. It is the same one. So, but I had
Yeah,
to give her credit for this case. So
yeah.
yeah. But yeah, but she wasn't there before, and he was hung out to dry. It was really they just were all on board. That's why they got
Yeah.
criticized. How do you go from one end to the other?
Mhm.
But that's what they did. So because a pardon is a pardon. Once you're pardoned, and in my case, he wasn't just pardoned; he was vacated the conviction, meaning it
Yeah.
never happened. So it
Oh,
was
Yes.
beyond pardoning. So to speak. They dismissed the indictment, which is even more so, and my guy was on appeal, so it still wasn't even a complete judgment yet. So,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah, I need one of those. But that's a different show.
yeah,
Yeah. You,
yeah,
you, you need the
Hey, man,
record
but,
expunged. Yeah.
yeah. I think might have told you a little bit. I got in trouble 35 years. I totally changed my life big time, and 35 years ago, actually. And, um, but, I had, at the state level, I wish they had those laws in place about the chasing, man. We were going like over 110 miles an hour. And
yeah,
we can't outrun the radio,
right,
times. And then, especially when they're on you. Then when I had 6 feds after me, I dusted them. I was only like 25. I'm lucky I'm alive. But they eventually caught up to me. But they don't
yeah. I
take.
mean, I understand the reason they somewhat are reluctant to allow too much cases is because there are accidents that happen with
Yes.
bystanders. So that's the counter argument to letting it be run wild. But then they shut it down so much. It's like
Oh yeah, I agree.
the criminals now in DC are like they're getting pulled over. Like, wait a minute, you can't chase me. And like, oh yeah, we can now. They're like,
Yeah.
oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The tables have turned.
yeah,
So
I'm in a huge supporter of law enforcement, and my friends were special agents and cops and stuff, and it's kind of odd. Me and a couple other guys that back in the early 20s got in trouble. We like huge supporters of the police. What people, unless you're in that circumstance at that time in your life, regardless of what you're doing or whatever, you're doing something wrong. They're pulling you over. There's high stakes, so you're adrenaline. You're scared. They don't understand. You know what I mean? And then you do
yeah,
something stupid like that, and you don't think right, and then you're going so fast. Somebody could have walked out in front of my car. I was in the Chicago side streets. You know what I mean? I was
yeah,
out right between, and I was lucky. So people have to understand that. Um, I don't know how you balance out the safety of the community. You're coming up with new technology and stuff now. I think with the computers in the cars and stuff, they could shut them down. But so we get all these, cars that are more modern. They're going to have to figure out how to do a good balance between protecting the citizens and the police officers while catching the criminals. Knowing right now in Chicago or DC, they got to, they could go half fast and get away. You know what I mean? They don't even have to go like balls
right,
deep, and then you got to let them go.
Yeah. I kind of
yeah.
feel
Well,
like
in this
20.
case, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was just going to say, I feel like 25 miles an hour, tagging
yeah,
along the side of the scooter. That's not a high speed chase. I
right,
understand
right.
not wanting high speed chases through city streets, but I feel like the scooter chase doesn't qualify for that.
Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah,
He should have went
yeah.
on foot. Should have let his partner out.
And he didn't even
Yeah.
pay for the scooter. He like took it from a friend. So that's the other. He wasn't even the actual renter. It was a rented scooter, of course. Yeah.
We had in
So
Chicago,
yeah.
these Venezuelans, I mean, like scooters are, I guess, big in Venezuela, and all of them, they're driving scooters and stuff all over the place. The Venezuelans?
Yeah, well, I think it's easier for the drug crowd. I mean, this is a gang. He was in the Kennedy Street gang, and they
Yeah.
use that to. It's easy to distribute. You can shoot around in the corners. I mean, it's the yeah. I think it's just a quick. They can get away from police too. You can go down an alley. A cop car can't follow you. You know, you got, and it's
Yeah.
not like you're going that fast on some city streets when they're small blocks. So you can
Well, I
go on
imagine you.
sidewalks, like you said. You know.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine you can pay for it with one of those disposable credit cards too. So then there's no way to trace who actually made the rental if they get away on foot and ditch the scooter somewhere. So yeah, I mean, if you're going to be a drug dealer, it sounds like a great a great tool for your toolkit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish they had Uber back in the day. That's another different story, but sorry. So, before we go on to the crime stats, do you have any other interesting cases? And it doesn't have to be in DC that you want to talk about, or we could just jump into the
You know, I've had a few. I mean, I can, you know, I can mention. I won't mention a name. Like this is kind of an example of craziness. There was a case where somebody, a police officer, they surrounded a car. It was stopped. It was running. It was stolen. But the DC police wouldn't get in front of it. So they called in the park police, who came to the scene, and they said, "Okay, this is our brilliant idea. You jump in the car and grab the guy, you know." And of course, he wakes up when this happens. So then the car takes off. One of the guys gets thrown out of the car. My guy tells him to stop. He hits 60 high speed. He won't. There is a gun at his feet, you know, the driver.
Mhm.
So my guy
Yeah.
shoots him and kills him. He was under investigation and still is to this day. First, it was for murder, which they didn't do, thank
Mhm.
God.
Mhm.
So we had that, but now he's still on an administrative situation right
Oh
now.
my God.
So it's just crazy. Like that's an example I think of insanity. He was
Yeah.
kidnapped basically.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
again, what if he didn't shoot the guy and the guy ran over a child on the street?
Right.
They go, why didn't you shoot him sooner? You know, or something. But they, you know,
They just can't win.
eh, yeah, yeah. So, and the car went airborne, hit a house. Luckily,
Oh,
my guy lived because he
yeah.
could have flown through the front windshield because he wasn't belted in. But somehow he wasn't. He had a concussion, but he lived. So,
And
so
so,
yeah. So
he,
that's another crazy. I mean, there's a bunch of them, but that one was really extreme.
yeah,
That they even thought it was criminal. I mean, but they did.
yeah.
And
And he's paying his own lawyer fees as well,
no,
attorney.
that one he has coverage.
Oh,
So,
good.
you know, that one he was I was yeah.
Oh, then you don't have to give up.
Zabaski was the only one that big case was the only one where he didn't that I've had. So the rest usually have uh FOP insurance. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. So why don't we
Yeah.
jump into the crime stats, which are starting to become apparent, and starting out in DC, and I bet you my right arm it's going to start spreading to other cities if they can. And after you talk about DC, I'll jump in with Chicago and some of the things that
Sure.
I found in the police reports, the incident reports. Like one center of 2,000 Venezuelans. Chris, I got 702 incident reports in 12 months. Chris, these were called, and then I had 500 fire
And
emergency.
no arrests probably or no
There's
charges. Yeah.
hardly that many. So we'll
Yeah.
talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
So go ahead, talk a little bit about what you know, at least at this point in time, and what's going in DC, or what might have came out, and what you think, your opinion, or what we know is going on with the fake.
Yeah, cooking the books.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually represent a few people, so I'm not going to speak directly about what I know of them and specifically, but there is DC has a certain way of calculating things, like they call it someone who's injured. Okay, they'll put it in a box. They'll say they're injured. Well, they
Mhm.
could be injured by a bullet, or they could be injured by a knife, or they could have been injured by falling on the ground. But they'll put them in this category, and until they decide what it is, it's not counted as one
Mhm.
of those things.
Yeah.
So, like, that's where there's fudging going on, I'll call it, or
Mhm.
whatever you want to call it, a head fake or something, where they don't report things right
Mhm.
away. Uh, there's also robberies that get told to become basically assaults,
Mhm.
and theft, assault and theft, which I don't know how
Yes.
it isn't a robbery, but they call it a misdemeanor assault and a misdemeanor theft, which should be a felony robbery. I mean, that's what that is on
Yeah.
the books. So there's no, if you're a first year law student knows that, or not even a law student knows that, they put it together and they go, that's a robbery. No, but we're going to call it assault with theft. So that's another one. And then assault with a deadly weapon is another issue that comes up where they were actually asking questions. If someone points a gun at somebody, that's not considered assault with a deadly weapon because they didn't. I don't know what the reasoning was. It had to be. They had to say, "I'm going to kill you,"
Hmm.
but just pointing the gun at you wasn't enough to be assault.
Hmm.
That's something else I was hearing.
Unbelievable.
I'm like, what? So that's what I can say. In some departments they've dealt with and have tried to expose. So yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess that's a quick thumbnail sketch. How far
Yeah.
that goes, I don't know. I don't. Crime reporting is discretionary too, right? I was a prosecutor. I had discretion to do things.
Yeah.
So that's the other problem, I suppose. Is but usually you always charge the highest thing. That's kind of what you were taught to do.
In the old days, right?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
old,
that was how
Yeah.
it used to be. Yeah, today
yeah.
it's like don't
Please,
charge.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I
But yeah,
think
that's a lot of
they know they'll get ahead if they don't. Yeah. Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
and that's a lot of what I had read regarding this when we first started covering the story a few weeks ago. Was yeah, they were listing breaking in as a property crime or stabbings as
Hmm.
medical incidents or anything
Yeah,
like to
right.
lower the overall statistics of violent crime. Now, other nonviolent crime was still getting apparently reported accurately, at least for the most part. Um, and who knows, maybe that's not going to turn out to be true either. But yeah, I was intentionally miscategorizing things in ways to make it look like things are improving there. But I mean, what are they averaging in homicides now? Like 37 per 100,000. I mean, when you've got more people getting killed per capita than you do in Baghdad, Iraq, or
Mhm.
Caracas, Pakistan. I mean, I kind of feel like that's a problem, especially for the nation's capital.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's an example of what I know for a fact, and we have the evidence, Mike, is in Chicago, Mayor Brandon Johnson, who's a Marxist piece of shit, right? I think everybody knows that. Is that we had at one point in time we had 27 shelters throughout the city of Chicago, right? And then there's other areas they said. And then we had, I don't know if you're a Catholic, Chris. I'm a Catholic
Hmm.
Italian. I'm not a good one. I have to say that every time. I'm not a good one.
Right.
But Catholic Charities is so culpable in what's going on here.
Yeah.
They were making so much money and helping these criminal Venezuelans. Yes, I sympathize with people trying to come and make a better life. My grandparents did that from Italy. They came through the right way in Ellis Island and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
They didn't come and say, "Oh, it was back in the teens, but they
Yeah.
didn't expect the phone and all this other stuff. They didn't have, they didn't take care of their whole livelihood, right? Everything is being taken care of and paid for now. So in Chicago, I'll go back to the Standard Club, which was 100-and-some-year-old historic building for Jewish communities in the 1800s. It was built. It was like a hotel, and it was like a meeting place, and they'd have weddings. It was like the center for the Jewish community, and it changed hands over time and got kind of dumpy. So this place had 2,000, I think 2,100 Venezuelans in there. I got into one of the centers, and I dressed up, like I don't know what a Venezuelan looks like, but I dressed down, I guess, and I got inside the shelter until they figured I couldn't speak Spanish, and I saw metal detectors in their wands. Everyone described this is another hotel in Chicago. They had the same thing at the Standard Club. I'm like, wait a minute, these
Yeah.
people are supposed to commit less crimes than Americans. I don't remember going to hotels where me and my kids and everyone's got to go through a metal detector, then get wanded, right? So I started doing the FOIAs. So Standard Club had 700 of them, and they list the incident reports. So correct me if I'm wrong. So an incident report is not the same as an arrest, correct?
Right. Yeah.
So they list all these incident reports, and they with all the stuff that they were called for, but they don't have all the arrests. It's like 10% of arrest. In
Right.
Chicago, I had 224 for 12 months, and they made 28 arrests. We got, and I'm not saying that they didn't arrest these people, but in these hotels, they had human sex trafficking, child pornography, assault. I mean, just crazy stuff. Beat the hell out of their wives. Many of them beat their wives and nothing happens to them. Nothing. You know, they pull their hair, they hit them with the phone, strangle them, beat them up for sending their money back to their parents, and they find out about our tax money going back to Venezuela. They beat the shit out of the wife. In one case, they beat the heck out of the son to get back at the wife. You know, so these things are not being reported in the city of Chicago. I have, you know, a lot of friends that are Chicago cops. I stumbled upon a street takeover. Everybody knows what that is, right? They're pretty popular now. Is you know what a street takeover, Chris?
I think so. Well,
Yeah.
what
You
flood
know,
the
like
zone kind of thing?
so for instance, in the city of Chicago, it's mostly cars, a
Yeah.
lot of African Americans, and they take over the intersection. They do donuts with their little whatever they
Oh, okay. Right. Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
yeah, I just happened to be just a pure coincidence between the Pilsen Center and Gage Park Center, all Hispanic area. And it was on a Sunday afternoon, a street takeover of 200 motorcycles, ATVs, dirt bikes, all speaking Spanish. Many of them had their masks on. Most of them had their license plates off or bent, or they didn't have a street legal motorcycle.
Oh,
And
sure.
in the intersection, a busy intersection, for 40 minutes. So I walked, I got all the video and stuff. We put it out there a few times. I called one of my copper buddies. And I'm like, I go, you got a bunch of these Venezuelans and Hispanics over here just in the street. They're doing wheelies on the median, dirt donuts, and you know, and he's like, yeah, we were told to stand down.
Yeah.
They're told to stand down. I mean, that in itself is dangerous in the middle of an intersection, right? They're riding on the sidewalks, doing wheelies jumping off the curb, the medians, and just like it was like a little dirt track in the middle of all this concrete in the intersection. So those are just examples that,
Sure.
without a doubt, they're underrepresenting the number of crimes that are going in Chicago. So I'm
Oh,
sure
yeah.
other crimes that, you know, these are things that we're able to validate just through the FOIAs and everything that I got, right?
Right.
There's stuff that, you know, as you know, we don't know what's going on, right? You
Yep.
know, the cops in Chicago are good police officers for the most part, and their hands are tied, right? And then think about it, you know, if people have to think about what Chris just said, you know, one of his officers has to pay to defend himself for doing his job. He's doing his job. He's chasing a moped at 20 miles an hour on a sidewalk with the drug dealer with money in his in and the guy runs, you know, it's absurd, right? And then you have to hear them, you know, it's again, Mike, I'm going to be a little sarcastic here. I'm going back to one of our presumptive governors here. I'm not saying his name. Uh, Everyone knows in Illinois. So this clown fell off a horse and then he sued the stable. He fell off the horse and he sued the stable. It's kind of like you get
For what, having a horse in it or something?
no, just for
Yeah.
being a dork and he didn't know how to ride a horse.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, it was the
You know,
premises
man, it's like
liability, I guess. Yeah.
it's a little bit, you know, maintenance, and it's like, you know, this guy's a criminal. He's driving on the sidewalk. He's trying to run from the cops at 20 some miles an hour, and he does something like,
Well, he was high too. I mean, he was on two different kinds of drugs, and well, they didn't release one of them till after trial, in the abundance of caution, and the judge said that didn't matter. But we got information of a third drug he was on.
Wow.
But yeah. So it didn't matter. That didn't matter either. That he was high and hit a car,
Mhm.
probably because he was high. He didn't know what the hell he was doing. You know, I mean, fairly obvious. That's probably really what took place. You know, and
Yeah. Three
to say that's the cop's fault is like, what are you talking about? You
Yeah.
know.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. 3 drugs in his system. He was tied with St. George Floyd. Sorry,
Yeah.
Terry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So the crime rate dropped dramatically, right? Big time in DC, correct? I mean,
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah, right. I'm sure it is. Yeah. Yeah, well, it dropped in New York when they put them in the subway, and no one bitched about that, you know. And when the
stop
National
in
Guard
front.
went in there,
Yeah.
instead helped the
Yeah.
subway, no one was burned and thrown in front of subway cars anymore, as happened before
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
I
so
think too, and Giuliani went in too, and the stop and frisk, you know, I guess decreased the crime, right?
yeah, they made that illegal now. I mean,
Yeah.
the New York council's even more crazy than DC. They've actually taken away immunity from police.
Oh my God. How could you be?
Yeah, so
So on a personal level,
you can be sued
yeah,
personally, yeah, without having immunity, yeah, when you're starting out. Like, why would you even want to be one? I don't even, you know.
no, go to a
I
city
know
that
there's
doesn't hate
surrounding.
you.
Yeah, I know there's surrounding agencies that won't send their cops into New York. They'll just send the city. They're like, forget it, you're not
Oh,
going in because
yeah.
they're just the laws are so screwed up. They're like, no, you're not going in there
Yeah,
to help.
we had the, DNC
Maybe the
convention.
same thing in Chicago. Same thing. I don't know.
Yeah, we had the DNC, convention in Chicago last, August, and, supposed to be it actually turned out to be nothing like what it was supposed to be, but, they were calling for extra law enforcement to support them outside the city of Chicago. So, for instance, DuPage County is the next biggest, county in Chicago, and they reached out to Sheriff Medrick, who's also running for governor, and, he said, "Hell no, I'm not gonna send my guys in there," you know?
Good for him.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like, why put them at risk for something that was created by the city of Chicago, right? And then they're going to be exposed. So, I mean, we have to make sure that the police officers are protected when they're doing their job, and not like this thing is not even controversial with the damn moped. It's absurd. It's
Yeah,
absurd.
the fact that they charged it the way it was just out of control. The causation is like, how did he cause the death? There really wasn't a connection, but
Yeah.
it was so twisted. And then, to your point about the immigrants, illegal immigrant, even if you arrest them, sometimes the prosecutors don't prosecute them because I had a situation where I was representing a business, and there was an illegal. He was Russian who was doing stealing identities, and they dropped the charge. I said, "Why are you dropping the charge?" This is in Montgomery County, Maryland, which is very liberal, okay,
Mhm.
county.
Yeah.
And they said, "Oh, because he could get deported." And I'm like, "Well, exactly." And I said, "Well, if he was a citizen, would you prosecute him?" "Oh, yeah, we would." I'm like, "Oh, well, that makes a lot of sense to me then." So the citizen gets prosecuted, but the undocumented doesn't. And that's a
Yeah, they
swear to
got to
God true story. I was like,
I
that
believe
was
it.
years ago too. I was like, "What?"
Mhm.
So even if they arrest them, they may not even
Well, I
pursue the
mean,
case at the prosecutorial level. You know.
yeah,
Yeah, I experienced that with Christy Nome was in Chicago and Lombard, about a month ago, and it happened to be I was on my way to work, and I got out and I'm filming. I was very respectful this time. It was all leftists, Marxists, Antifa. I was the only person from our side there. I was not there for 5 seconds. I got assaulted. So I asked this big Antifa beast woman. I mean, she's like huge, but shorter than me. But
Gorlock the Destroyer.
oh yeah, you saw her, and they're all chanting, yelling at Christy Nome and ICE and how bad they are and all that stuff. And I'm like, excuse me, does this also your protection also include Trent Larga? Wow, what? F you. And then she hits my phone, tries to grab it out of my hand. These Democratic cops refused to arrest her. That's how I was learning about it. They didn't even want to arrest
Yeah.
her. They said,
Yeah.
we don't have to. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Well, they
They,
probably know she'll get released, or the
yeah,
jury might say, "Oh, well,
yeah. You know
you
what?
know,
They said the tensions were
it was
high.
protest." She was
Yeah,
protesting. That's
yeah,
what it was.
tensions
She
were
she
high.
hit you on the head with your phone to protest you.
Well,
Yeah.
tensions were high in January 6th too. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, so I mean, that's how I kind of learned about the prosecution, the leeway that the police officers have before they even get to. I didn't know you can't force them to do their job when it comes to arresting someone. You got it on camera.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of times it's the watch commanders, they call them here. I don't know what they call them in Chicago. They make the calls at the scene, and they're like the acting captain of each
Mhm.
district in DC. And they probably have something similar in Chicago. And they can suppress things. They can say, "Oh no, that wasn't a robbery. We're going to charge that as a assault and a theft."
Yeah.
So
There
that's
you
how they
go.
write it up.
Yeah,
Then the
there.
detectives can get involved, but yeah, that's something I'm in the middle of right now. So yeah.
Wow. Wow. So we're supposed to have it's not a secret anymore unless it's a head fake by Trump, but he said today they're coming to Chicago this weekend. And
Oh
Christy
Good.
Nome said yesterday, it
yeah.
was on WGN, that they're coming to Chicago, but Trump said this weekend.
Is the
Um,
mayor's head going to explode when that happens, or what? I mean,
yeah, I hope
He's
so.
probably gonna run off and hide.
I don't know if you guys, because you're not from Chicago, he was having panic attacks during COVID. You guys remember that?
yeah. I
Yeah,
wasn't there. I was in New York and during COVID. Yeah.
he was
I
having.
remember, I remember Mayor Washington. I actually went to the place where he had ribs that killed him. I guess he had so many ribs he died of like a heart attack or
Oh, here.
something. That was the joke. There was
Oh,
some
Huh.
yeah, he was
there was some
behind his
rib
desk.
famous rib place that I went to that he used to eat at every day.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
that was in 1986. I was in
Yeah, it was it was I know.
I was in Lincoln Correctional, okay,
Yeah, alright.
and
I
I
was
remember
eating ribs.
I'm laying on my bunk, with my headset on. I was like one of the only 2 guys in the prison that had color TV, and I'm like, I had my TV on, and these guys come in "Hell, Dad! Hell, Dad! You killed him!" I'm like, "What?" I go, "What? Hell, Dad!" I go, "I don't know what the hell you're saying." He says, "Hell, Washington, Dad! Y'all killed him!" I said, "Crazy?"
Yeah, he ate himself to death, I think, what happened. From what he had a heart attack from yeah, eat ribs every day, that's not a good diet.
Yeah, no, he was, but at least he got a library out of it.
Yeah.
It's funny,
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it doesn't look like a monster like
it
Obama, yeah.
looks like
Oh
Obama's
yeah.
The Death Star or whatever that is.
correctional center at MCC Correctional. It's all concrete and, like, no windows. It's, like, crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah,
so when Holman and the guys come to Chicago, because I went into some of the No Kings protest. I'm the 60-year-old Antifa guy dressed up. I
Uh,
go in when they do their marches. I got catch them on camera and stuff. But, like, before the No Kings Day on a Tuesday, they had an event. They had 5,000 people on a Tuesday.
wow,
And then, I mean, the No Kings Day was, I mean, we
yeah,
have so many Marxist,
oh,
leftist,
sure.
Antifa
Unless they're paid, they may be getting paid too, I mean,
absolutely are getting
you
paid.
know,
So
they're not it's not always,
no,
organic as you say as
no,
people
it's
say,
not.
yes.
it's there.
No, it's not. Matter of fact, we gotta do a show, Mike. I'll show the DNC stuff. So even this thing with Christy Nome, they had professionally made signs,
Yeah,
Of
for this
course.
group. It wasn't a massive group, but they're all professionally made. At the DNC convention, me and Ben Berquam were walking through their Antifa base camp, and in the middle of a baseball field, they had like hundreds of signs that were on wooden sticks. I mean, I forgot what it was at, whatever their Marxist
sure.
shit was, but I mean,
Yeah.
somebody dropped them off in a truck, and I'm not talking about a van, a truck. It was like spread all over, like, all over in the center of the baseball field for people to pick up these nice professionally made signs that were given to them for their parade. So
And
they
their
are paid.
box and their boxed lunch and their binky and everything else they need.
Yeah, the guy was just on Fox News, I don't know, a couple weeks ago for paid protesters. Remember, Mike? I think you remember?
Yeah, yeah, we covered it a bunch. Yeah, it's Crowds on Demand, which used to be primarily a marketing firm. If you're going to open a new store, they'd get a crowd to show up, or like a new restaurant, they'll hire 20 people to keep hanging out. Get as much free pizza
Make
or
it
whatever
look
as
like
they want.
it's
Yeah, make it look like a sudden hit, and all of a sudden, all these people
yeah.
are showing up. People get curious. I mean, it's a brilliant idea. But yeah, he said they've had a 400% increase in rent-a-mobs, not just in like the last election cycle, like just since Trump was sworn in. 400% increase in rent-a-mobs for political whatever. And I know there's a few people that went into some of these at the Tesla dealerships and confronted people directly, and they admitted on camera they were being paid, whatever it was, $200 to be there for 4 hours. Which that's good work if you can get it. $50 an hour, that's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not, yeah.
So, if I'm remembering correctly, are you working on a documentary? Is that you?
No, I mean, I have been asked to help out a Son of Sam movie, but we'll see.
Oh,
I'm not
nice.
working on it directly, but that's an old story. But yeah,
So
Yeah.
must be friends from New York, huh?
right, right. Yeah, some people I know in New York have asked me a little bit about that, but that's still like not close to finished. But yeah, we'll see.
My
But
my
nothing to do with this stuff. I mean, that's but it's interesting,
yeah,
obviously. Yeah.
my defense attorney for the state stuff I had, he was a prosecutor on Spec. Remember Spec in Chicago?
Yeah, I think so.
The
Yeah.
nurses and stuff. Another
Yeah.
job got
Oh
inside
yeah.
I don't know if it was University of Chicago or one of the colleges downtown, at whack job. Well, any closing statements?
Yeah, I mean, I just hope I don't care, politically wise, I don't know why people are against police. I can't understand it. I mean, so I hope that there's common sense that comes through on all sides on this because just being against them because quote Trump's for them, I guess that's all I can think of. It makes no sense at all. And
Well,
all you
yeah.
have is anarchy. You have anarchy, and I mean, how is that good at all for anybody. It's society's breaks down. So I just hope everyone does support their first responders. Of course, there's some bad ones, but it's not
Yeah.
it's not systemically bad, which
No, it's
is
not.
No.
the narrative. There's systemic racism, systemic this, and it's like, no, I've never seen it. I had never,
No.
you know.
Well, I mean, that's the other thing we're really seeing. It's very, very evident in DC there is when you got and talk to the local residents, not the partisan hacks, not the blue haired moonbats. You know, they are very happy with the changes that their streets are safe again. You know, we've highlighted a couple of these videos on my program in the morning on the insurrection where, you know, like the one lady was talking about how nice it was that the train station near her was finally cleaned up. She didn't have to, you know, climb over homeless people to get there. With the interview that what is her name did for Gateway Pundit, Kara Castronova, she talked to a guy that had been shot 4 different times in DC in armed robberies, and he was talking like how big of an improvement they'd seen there in just a week. And I know they did finally have a homicide up there, but there's got to be what, like 8 to 9 people now that are only alive because of this DC crackdown, because they're basically suffering one homicide every other day.
Wow.
I mean, it's a huge improvement. Hopefully they can maintain it. Hopefully it doesn't descend back into chaos. But I think this, again, shows what happens when you enforce the law instead of giving criminals a pass. You know, no cash bail or whatever else. You keep releasing these
That's
animals
bad. Yeah.
back onto the street. Exactly.
Yeah, and you're like, you know, I got in trouble because I deserved it. So that was fine. You know, they did their job. So I mean, I had no animosity against
No,
them.
and I've sat through arraignments, and you'll see like carjackings. They put no bail on a carjacker in DC. They're just like let out. I mean, I was like, what?
Wow.
My
It's
guy had something
it's a
different, and he shouldn't have had bail, so I didn't complain about that. But it was extradition issue. And he surrendered. But I mean, I was like listening. I'm like, what? You know, carjacking. And then you talk about safety. People I know before this crackdown, they were having cars whiz by them. They're stolen. Like a stolen car doesn't obey the speed limits
No,
Of
or
course not.
so they fly through the streets.
yeah.
So and they're not allowed to stop them, or they weren't. So that's the flip side of that thing,
They
right?
go,
So they're
go as fast as they can.
joyriding through the streets
Yep.
and blowing through stop signs and
Yep. All they do want to do is get out of eyesight and then bail the car and leave. So they're even,
yeah. Then
they're
they burn it up or something. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And then, so, you know, back in the 80s, though, I think the police were like racist towards Italians. We're trying to make a living in Chicago, and I think they targeted us and stuff. And
It was sure. I'm sure. Probably. Yeah.
racist cops, man. The racist Irish Chicago cops.
Yeah. It's like a long-standing feud, I guess.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
very much for being on the show. We
Of
appreciate it.
course.
And,
Anytime. I appreciate you raising awareness to all this.
thank
And
you.
is what's the best place for our audience to find you and to follow you?
Yeah, I do have a Twitter account, I guess ZAMPPC at whatever it is now, at thing. But I have a webpage, zamponialaw.com, which is a mouthful, but that's the name is spelled up there for
It's
you.
right up there.
And yeah, and if you're calling, it's 202-223-6635 is my phone number in DC. So my office phone number.
Hey,
So
so
yeah,
Awesome.
you can.
look at I joined.
You're in the Crusades. Look at
Yeah.
that.
Actually, I got that on Twitter. It's an international group.
Or it's half Crusades. Oh, the other half is blue. I don't know. I think it's
Hang
blue.
on, let me
I
pull this
can't.
up. There you go.
It's the Crusades. Yeah.
Yeah, with the blue side. I didn't see the blue flag part. Yeah,
I know we're on with one last story. So
sure.
as I would be confronting the the radical leftists, the Antifa, BLM, and the older Italian guys, grandfathers were like my biggest supporter. They show up to
Sure.
boards and stuff, and they're hardcore, Catholics, and
Sure.
they would go do the rosary every Thursday, at St. Mary's Church, the oldest church in Illinois. And
Oh,
so I would
nice.
go with them before we did our show on Tuesday, Thursdays, and it was funny. Is like, like typical Catholics. They're mostly Irish guy. I grew up in the Southwest side, more Irish actually than Italian. And they go drinking afterwards. We go drinking.
Sure.
And I'm like, what the hell's going on with the Catholic Church? I go, for Christ's sake, we used to behead Muslims. I can't get a dad to show up at a school board meeting with us.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Crusaders, talking about the Crusaders, and I see him on Twitter, and I joined him, and I got the flag for joining him. I got the little cross here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Well, they
You're
might
ready
need
to go.
they might need to restart the Crusades in Europe here pretty soon.
That's exactly. It's from Europe. They started in Europe. I mean, they're
Wow.
international now, so it's kind of cool. I hope we, Catholics grow some balls to defend our country.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
I hear you. I hear you.
Well,
Yeah,
Dan,
well, Notre Dame just got rid of their Fighting Irish guy, and I'm a grad. They now have a running Irishman. I don't know if you saw the
no
logo.
way. When
You've
this
got to
year?
be kidding me. I went to
Yeah,
Chaminade Julienne, a feeder
Are you
high
kidding
school.
me?
It's a feeder for that college. That's an embarrassment.
I
it's
almost
not gotten rid of entirely, but if you watch the game, which unfortunately I did, the coach, he had the new logo on his shirt. I almost vomited in my mouth. I'm like, this is bad omen.
Oh,
It's a leprechaun with a football in his arm instead
oh,
of the.
yeah,
And I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like, really? This is like politically correct. We got to go there. So yeah,
ridiculous.
What an
But
there's a lot of grads in Chicago, so I'm sure they saw it. So.
yeah, I went to the first Southside Irish parade. So we have the St. Pat's parade and then the Southside Irish parade. And with my friends, I was like, I don't know, senior, just out of high school. And I used to call, we used to go on 111th Street there and get drunk and get in fights all the time. I used to go,
Yeah.
blah, for the,
There you go. The Fighting Irish.
yeah,
Bring
Yeah.
it back.
yeah,
Or don't get rid of it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's totally gotten rid of,
yeah.
but it's ridiculous. Yeah. It's just something. Sorry to bring that tangential
Oh,
point
yeah,
up, but
no,
that's just something that pissed me off.
yeah.
When I saw that, I was like, that's why we lost to Miami.
Yeah. Yeah.
For a bunch
No,
of pussies now. We're running from things. We're not fighting anymore.
exactly.
Did you go to Notre Dame then?
I did, yeah.
What year did you graduate?
Undergrad in '89 and law in '92.
Oh my God! So I used to go out with Rice and those guys from the team.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, I know Tony
and
Rice. Yeah, he was there when I was there. Yeah, yeah.
wow,
I,
and wow.
yeah, I
Do you
have an
remember?
autograph. I have a football from Tim Brown, the last Heisman Trophy winner. Yeah,
Did
he
you
was
know
a good guy.
Ian Smagalia?
Yeah, Smagala, he was nuts. Yeah, that
Yeah,
guy
he's
was
a big
nuts.
guy.
Yeah,
What about Jeff? Do you know what
he
about
tried
Jeff?
to he tried to spear Coach Holtz and like kill him or something. He was nuts.
What about
Smagala. Yeah,
Smagala? Yeah,
yeah,
he grew up by my house. Jeff Pearson, you remember him?
yeah. I remember
He
that.
went
Yeah,
to Michigan. You remember he left, and then there was a big about him going, Michigan.
yeah. I think so.
Um,
Yeah, yeah. I went to one of the guys
as
played
Jeff,
against Zorich. He was the third string center, and he used to play opposite Zorich. Mike Harrison. If he went to the same high school, all those guys went to. I forget what it was in Chicago. They all came out of the same high school that
so
went to
I'll
Notre Dame.
tell you why. He
It was
went.
a Catholic school. I can't remember what the name is, but yeah, they all played
Tell you why he
football.
switched from Notre Dame to Michigan. Pearson, they found the cops found he had coke in his locker at Notre Dame. So Holtz kept him from going to prison. He had to leave the school, and then he went over to Michigan, and then he ended up. And the guy he grew up like blocks from me. He had, he had his world by day, big guy, just stupid, and he ended up going to Costa Rica and started offshore gambling
Oh,
and killed somebody. He's got
oh,
life
jeez.
in Costa Rica, and there's a book on Notre
Oh,
Dame.
holy cow.
Yeah, there's a book on guys that got in trouble for Notre Dame. I forgot the name of it. He's in
Huh.
it. His name's
Wow. Yeah, I knew Pearson. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Anyways, well,
Well,
thank you guys.
yeah,
Anytime, I'll come back.
yeah.
I
Thank
no.
do like thick pizza. I don't have to always eat thin crust, so I like deep
you.
dish for
I
the
mixed
record.
it up. I mixed
Although I'm trying not to eat any pizza now. I'm trying to lower that carb intake
Yeah, yeah. You and
level.
me both.
Yeah.
So
All right, buddy. Well, thank you
okay,
very much.
thank you. Alrighty, I'll log
Yeah.
out, I guess.
Thanks.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. To our audience, please like, share, and subscribe. Help us to grow so we can bring more people the news the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. We'll be back on Thursday with even more.
Mike, hold on. We got a
Well,
DC attorney on Thursday. Another one, Ivan Rankin.
oh, yeah, I know Ivan.
Yeah.
All right. Good. We got Ivan Rakel. We'll have some good stories there.
Tell people who he is because you know him better than I.
Yeah, so he's you've probably seen him in some of the courtrooms or going up asking questions, questions the media refused to ask, and at Congress and at a lot of these hearings. You guys will recognize him. He's a constitutional attorney, former special forces, great guy. You've probably seen him on with Alex Jones a few times, been on with Bannon, been on with me before. So yeah, great guy. Known him for a while.
Oh,
Look forward to watching.
yeah. Thank you.